Our top stories tonight. Public Protector Thuli Madonsela reveals a Cape Town gangster received hundreds of thousands of rand to assassinate her. Former President Thabo Mbeki calls on the ANC to confront South Africa's problems honestly. This is Enews Direct Weekend Edition. Good evening.
You can comment on any of our stories by following us on Facebook and Twitter at Enews Direct.
Or you can check our content on our website, enca.com/direct. Public Protector Thuli Madonsela is apparently living in fear for her life, having learned of a plot to assassinate her. Madonsela received a text message from an informant in Cape Town warning her of the threat. She reportedly met with the informant in the city, where he explained that a local gangster had been paid over 700,000 rand to carry out the hit. Her death would be made to look natural or accidental. Security at her home has been beefed up and she has restricted her movements. Now for a response from the Public Protector's office, and we spoke earlier to Advocate Thuli Madonsela's spokesperson, Kgalalelo Msibi.
What I can confirm at this stage is that the matter was reported to the Protection Security Services on the same day. The response that the Public Protector received was that the information that the informant always gives is 95% incorrect and 5% correct. But she's of the view that in this particular instance, the threat must be taken seriously just in case that it falls under the 5% correct information.
A former president has told government leaders not to lie to themselves about issues affecting the country. Thabo Mbeki was speaking during 20th anniversary celebrations of the adoption of the South African Constitution. His comments come on the back of the recent Constitutional Court Nkandla judgment. It found that President Jacob Zuma had failed to respect, defend and uphold the Constitution.
Former President Thabo Mbeki says South Africans are unhappy with their current socio-economic conditions. Mbeki referred to a newspaper article which spoke of the failure of the ANC-led alliance to fill a stadium in the Eastern Cape during May Day celebrations. Mbeki used this to illustrate his point about the governing party losing the support of ordinary people.
So Mbeki Cele was one of the speakers there. And Mbeki says, what we see in front of us here in Port Elizabeth tells us that we are in trouble. And he said, look, it's maybe it's something which you should not have said. He says, maybe you can tell lies to other people, which you should not have said. But he said, but let's not lie to ourselves, which he should have said. Because he says this tells the truth. The people are disaffected. The people don't want us. He says these rallies don't work. We must now go to door to talk to people. I agreed with Mbeki. I read the article and he wasn't there, but I applauded him. I gave him a standing ovation.
I rise to address you in response to yet another frivolous motion by the DA to remove President Jacob Zuma.
Mbeki says the current leadership needs to be honest and confront the problems.
I think that is the first thing that any leadership needs to do. Not to tell lies to itself, but to understand what is the situation in the country, what are the challenges, and indeed, why were we elected? You go to Parliament to say, I'm a representative of the people. You've got to demonstrate it by what you do, by the responses you make to these problems that are facing the people.
At the same time, Mbeki applauded President Zuma for suggesting a national dialogue. He believes this will help confront the issues that divide the country and reinforce those that foster unity. Olumgambi, Pretoria.
Several deaths have been reported as heavy rain causes flooding in KwaZulu-Natal. A 4-year-old boy had a lucky escape when a house collapsed at an informal settlement in Durban. The structure was made of wire and rocks. Rescue workers had to cut through the wire to rescue him. Paramedics say he's seriously injured and has been hospitalized. The heavy rain is expected to continue well into tomorrow. A bitter battle is brewing between the National Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals and one of its employees. Suzette Kotze is refusing to let the organisation enter its Stilfontein branch in the northwest. She says she wants to use the premises to home animals rather than euthanize them.
This used to be an SPCA branch, but now the Stilfontein shelter has been taken over by one of its former employees. Suzette Kotze objects to the organization's approach to animal welfare.
Ek het besluit om nie meer my mond te hou nie. Ons is moeg vir al die behind the scenes dinge wat aangaan en die feit dat ek gesonde diere moet doodmaak, ons word gedwing om dit te doen. En dit kan ek nie meer doen nie.
Kotze says she's put down too many dogs during her 6 years at the organization, and claims the SPCA would rather euthanize a dog than try to rehome the animal.
Is op 'n stadium vir ons gesê ons is nie 'n rehoming agency nie, ons is daar om dieremishandeling te beveg.
Kotze has turned the property, which belongs to the local municipality, into a no-kill shelter for animals.
Hoe maak jy daai lewe dood?
The NSPCA has denied the allegations.
Hello, Bobo. We oppose the euthanasia of fit and healthy animals, but we have to accept the reality that it's needed because there's just too many animals. And we're the only organization that may not refuse admission to any unwanted or stray animals.
It appears that the dispute is now heading to court. Narissa Subramani, Stilfontein.
KwaZulu-Natal Correctional Services held a special Mother's Day event over the weekend. It involved more than 700 youths serving time in the Durban Westville Youth Correctional Centre. Authorities invited parents to share the special day with their sons as a means of support through their rehabilitation.
700 inmates enjoying a rare opportunity to join their parents in celebrating Mother's Day. Correctional Services authorities say that without parental interaction, it's difficult to change young offenders' behavior.
It is important for mothers to also rekindle and revisit the love that they have for their sons, and also for their sons to be able to share the love that they have for their mothers.
Authorities also invited other would-be parents to attend and give support to inmates who have no one to fulfill the role.
Some of them, they don't even have parents that are visiting. So in most of the times, you'll find that if a parent is visiting her son, then they'll be able to adopt another son and then be kind of an adoptive parent for that son.
Offenders use the occasion to showcase their talent in appreciation of their family members.
Mother's Day gap has been closed to such an extent that I feel very honored to be with my sister on such a splendid day.
Ngamqamba ngathi kwando kuhle ngangilindele okuhle kuyena njengoba ke fike nalawa akhombisa ukuthi uphuma ekhaya elinjani elimfundisa ukuthini kwando kuhle usaqhubeka nje enzokuhle.
Correctional Services officials have urged parents to make every visit special for offenders until they are ready to be integrated back to society. Skushangase, Durban.
Moving to world news now, North Korea has said it will not use nuclear weapons unless its sovereignty is threatened, according to reports by state media. The country's made repeated threats of nuclear strikes against South Korea and the US since it first tested nuclear weapons in 2006. Supreme Leader Kim Jong-un is quoted as telling the Workers' Party Congress that he is willing to normalize ties with previously hostile countries. But recent reports say movement observed at North Korea's nuclear site is consistent with preparations for another nuclear test. A collision between a fuel tanker and 2 buses on a highway in Afghanistan has left 73 people dead and scores injured. All 3 vehicles caught fire after the crash on the main road linking the capital Kabul to the southern city of Kandahar. Traffic officials said the collision was caused by reckless driving. And in Canada, the wildfire that's been raging for a week in Alberta State is now spreading towards neighbouring Saskatchewan. Hot, windy conditions are hampering efforts by hundreds of firefighters to contain the blaze. It now covers an area of more than 2,000 square kilometres. Well, for these stories and more, go to enca.com/direct or follow us on Twitter and Facebook at Enews Direct. Well, after the break, comic book fans come out to play in Cape Town. Comic book fans were in for a treat this weekend in Cape Town. The city played host to the inaugural Cape Town FanCon, where hundreds of fans took part. We went along to see if we could bump into Batman or a member of the Avengers.
This is the Cape Town FanCon. It's an event attended by young and old alike and is the perfect excuse for fanatics to don their favorite superhero gear. It's a veritable feast for fantasy and science fiction enthusiasts, as well as comic book lovers looking to boost their collections. Event organizers say the fans' response has been excellent.
Today is looking really good, also strong turnout, even though it's Mother's Day, but brilliant turnout. I think Cape Town has really come out for this show.
Abram says FanCon is geek heaven for fans, with activities galore, including cosplay, dance performances, and the obligatory geek quiz. Rare and vintage comic books were on display, while writers and illustrators from home and abroad were in attendance to enthrall the crowds.
It is not just for comics anymore, and it's not for geeks anymore. It's for artists, it's for illustrators, for writers, it's for, photographers.
And devoted fans also had plenty to say.
Overseas, people have all these Comic Cons and everything, and we don't have that many. We have maybe 3 or 4 a year that are very big, and it's really awesome to just get the experience.
It's brilliant, it's fun, it's what we need.
Yeah. And it's also exciting right now because there's movies out in the cinemas.
Yes. To inspire, yes, it helps a lot, yeah.
The organizers say they're hoping the event becomes a prominent feature on the comic book social calendar. Bonga Dulane, Cape Town.
Well, that's your entertainment for tonight. All your weather news after the break.
Welcome to the Weather Centre on Sunday, where it's been a rainy day along the east coast with cloudy and cold weather over the interior and a sunny and warm day over the southwestern parts. Now, some of that is due to a low pressure just off the west coast that continues to move along the west coast on Monday, bringing in some fog and then a few showers in the southwest. It also results in overcast weather with scattered thunderstorms for the Northern Cape, with thundershowers extending across South Africa. We're expecting dry and warm weather as we head towards the coast, with the possibility of rainfall over the extreme eastern and northeastern parts, with another chilly day in the forecast over the interior. In KwaZulu-Natal, you'll see overcast weather and rainfall for Richards Bay and Ulundi, with some drizzle for Durban, partly cloudy and dry for the rest of the province, and overall we're expecting warmer weather. We're also expecting a warmer day for the Eastern Cape, with thundershows mainly over the interior, dry and warm as we head towards the coast, but with a slight possibility that those thundershows will reach the coast later on in the day. Mostly cloudy but warm between Plettenberg Bay and Mossel Bay. You'll see thundershows over the interior with showers in the southwest and a mild Monday afternoon. We're forecasting fog along the west coast, Springbok sunny at 19 degrees, quite cold over the southern part of the Northern Cape, with overcast and wet weather in the forecast, with a large amounts of cloud and scattered thundershowers. You'll also see thundershowers over the western part of the Free State, with a cool start of the work week. Partly cloudy and mild as we head towards the northwest, with highs in the low 20s. Still warm over the western part of Limpopo, but with the possibility of rainfall in the east. Cloudy, cool and wet as we head towards Bombela and Mkondo, both in the teens, with a maximum of around 20 over the western part of Mpumalanga. We're also expecting a partly cloudy and dry day for Gauteng, with a maximum temperature of around 20 degrees. On Tuesday, thundershowers still extend from the northwest all the way through to the Eastern Cape, partly cloudy and warm along the KwaZulu-Natal coastline. And on Wednesday, we're expecting a warmer day across South Africa, with a few thundershowers still over the central and eastern interior. That's all from the Weather Centre for now. Have a lovely week.
Your top stories again before we go. Public Protector Thuli Maransela reveals a Cape Town gangster received hundreds of thousands of rand to assassinate her. Security at her home has been beefed up and she has restricted her movements. Former President Thabo Mbeki calls on the ANC to confront South Africa's problems honestly. He was speaking during 20th anniversary celebrations of the adoption of the Constitution. Well, that's a wrap from the Enews Direct team for the weekend.